It's just fun because like every time there's a countdown, it feels like it's a new thing. It's exciting. It's like Times Square, but it's in my living room, and I'm only slightly warm.
Yeah, we do a lot of countdowns for some reason. We're doing a lot of countdowns. I don't know where I was going with that.
A plus content.
Makes everything
That's where you
better
come
so that I can continue to sit in my chair in the exact same position I was in before the countdown.
That's right.
It's a Star Wars thing. We love our numbers, man. I mean, we're gonna be going to movies that have no numbers and only titles, and the fan base is gonna explode.
I don't even know what that's going to be like.
I don't know what
This
that's gonna be like.
period
at
of going
all.
to movies after this huge ordeal of the saga films finally coming to an end, and yet sooner or later we're still going to have more Star Wars movies.
You know, you would think, but you know what else we're gonna have? More episodes of the Living Force podcast. This is episode 29. Welcome in, one and all. Welcome to our live viewers on both Facebook and the YouTubes. And welcome to you all listening either on Thursday on Patreon or Friday on your regular podcast streams. Thank you for tuning in. I am one of your hosts, Eric Eilerson, and with me today is, as always, one of the doctors, Dr. Corey Helton. Hey, buddy.
Hello.
And an awesome surprise guest. That's not a surprise because you've heard his voice and you probably saw it in the title. It is one of the hosts of Legends Look Back, a Utini podcast, Jared Mays.
Hello there.
Welcome.
That's nice to hear.
Isn't it, though?
Got a whole 2 episodes in the can.
Man,
Official
you're killing
podcaster.
it on there. Later on in the show, we are going to have your other host, Freddie C., who is currently driving home in beautiful sunny Orange County. But until that happens, we're going to try to direct this ship as best we can. So on this episode, we are all about Legends. Yes, 2 episodes in, we are already stealing all of Jared and Freddie's thunder for our own show because we realize it is a superior product.
You can try, Eric.
And try we will, my friend. Later on in this show, we're going to go over some of our favorite stuff. We're going to tell you guys a little bit about Legends Look Back if you haven't heard about it already on the Patreon. But before that, a little bit of business. Guys, this was a cool week for Patreon. I got to say, ever since we launched that, we've been talking about it an exhaustive amount. We've also been having a pretty good time, and we wanted to highlight a couple new patrons. One, Dominic Dawson joined us in the Eugenie family, so welcome to you. We super
What a
appreciate
guy.
your support.
What a guy.
So cool. So cool. Personal connection, if you will.
Something like that.
So welcome, Dominic. We're lovely to have you. And secondly, as we were recording last Monday, if you were in the aftermath after show, which stay tuned after this episode if you'd like to join us there, we found out that our very own Patrick Ortiz, who's a longtime Utini supporter, a longtime friend of ours, joined our Jedi High Council on Patreon.
Yeah, he did. It's the highest tier we have on Patreon, and I flipped out. The in the aftermath show, Charles was so adept to point out that the first aftermath show we do literally opens with me screaming into the mic, "Holy effing shit! Patrick just became a $40 patron subscriber. Oh no, now we have to do stuff." And that's basically
Exactly.
how we kicked off the after show, and it was great.
Yeah.
If he keeps this up for too long, he'll be the new CEO of Utini.
That's right.
Oh, easily.
That's right.
Easily.
That's right. Well, he does kind of get that power a little bit. That's one of the cool features of that tier is they get to sort of direct some of our decision making on the website. So, Patrick,
Absolutely.
he could be the PO are his initials. He could be like the CPO.
I love it. The Chief Patrick Officer.
Yes, that's right.
The Chief Patrick Ortiz Officer.
Yes,
Might as well rename the tier I am the Senate.
that's right.
So thank you, Patrick, truly for your support. It means the absolute world. And we'll go into a bunch more Patreon stuff later on at the end of the show. A couple more updates about Utini, the site itself, utini.com if you haven't been there. We have a couple new reading collections that got published this week. Number 1, the Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One collection fully got pushed. We mentioned it last week a little bit. It was still in kind of the draft stages, but it is there. So if you're watching some Clone Wars, you want some more great Anakin in your life, head on over to that Anakin Skywalker collection. You're going to get all stuff Anakin. Now, this is not to be confused with the Darth Vader collection, which we also, I believe, have.
Dude, hey, I wrote it.
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
sure.
there we go. Perfect.
Come on.
I know. I'm sorry, buddy. But yes, so we do have a Vader collection if you want some evil badness. But if you want some love-struck, very conflicted, chosen one badassery, the Anakin Skywalker collection is for you. And we also have who maybe should have been his master, the Qui-Gon Jinn collection.
I can't wait. I was pondering yesterday on Qui-Gon and Master and Apprentice and just how much I loved that book. And like, we're gonna come back around to this Resistance Reborn because I've been reading that lately, and I really like this book too. And just randomly, I had the thought, what is my favorite book in canon? And it might actually be Master and Apprentice. It
look
might
at that
actually
slip.
be. Slipped. Oh Lord. It might actually be Master and Apprentice.
Yeah,
It's so good.
tremendous.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah, that Qui-Gon collection, hey, would have been okay before we had Master and Apprentice, but once we had that, it was like, all right, we got a clear number 1 slot here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, Master and Apprentice is one of those books that, like, I remember where I was when I was reading it.
Absolutely.
It was such a time of my life. So
yeah, I blew through it.
definitely check
I
that
think I read the entire book in one sitting, if I remember
You did.
correctly. Yes, and I messaged you guys at 3 a.m. and I was like, I just finished this book. I couldn't put it down. It was unbelievable. Yeah,
I was in the middle of that when I joined the team at UTini, so it holds a special place in my fandom heart.
Ours
That's
too.
beautiful.
Better than Queen's Shadow, which would have been just a couple of weeks earlier.
Don't say that name on this show. Plummet. There goes our bit rate. The internet's down.
It's over, guys. We lost Freddie too.
Yeah, he's gone.
All right. So in addition to those 2 collections, we got 3 articles, or 2 articles that went up, and then 1 announcement I want to just kind of go over. Number 1, we have a little special review that I threw up last week, which is the Star Wars: The Ultimate Pop-Up Galaxy review. The folks that made that were kind enough to send me a copy of that, and guys, it's crazy. I don't know if you've seen these pop-up books that Inside Editions does, but they're like these epic scale pop-ups. And I wrote up a review about it. You can use it like a normal pop-up, but you can also spread it out so you see like all 8 current films have their own little diorama, and you can pull. It's very invested, very involved. So if you're looking for some holiday shopping, especially, highly recommend go check out what I wrote about that. If it sounds like something you want, go ahead and pick that up. But
How big is it, Eric?
I mean, the whole thing could fit on like a dining room table if you actually like spread it all the way out.
Oh wow! So it is one of those books that
It's thick.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it like this thick? Is it like this big? My camera's over
Yeah,
here.
actually, here, vamp for a second.
Vamp.
How big was that, Corey?
What are we talking about?
One of these, no, just the book. One of these days, I'm looking forward to actually being able to get one of these pop-up books. I've got an 18-month-old, and
Well
she would just
done.
tear those pages out if I had it.
Yeah.
So if you're on the video right now, this is the size of the pop-up when it's just condensed. And I actually did write in my review. You said if you have a little one, maybe not around this one as much as you'd think, because there's a lot of because of the intricacy of the crafting, it's pretty delicate with some of the pages. So like I found myself accidentally ripping some things, even just opening it myself. So if you have some younglings, maybe spoil the surprise for yourself. Open it up before you show it to them. Make sure you pull everything. Make sure it's all unstuck, and then I'm sure you'll blast.
Yeah, so they had these at Celebration, and it blew me away. I think I actually might have sent you guys some pictures of. They didn't have any Star Wars ones, though, I don't think, actually, funny enough. I think they said that one was coming at Celebration.
Yeah, they had Harry Potter, I think.
Yes, they had Harry Potter, and the Harry Potter pop-up books were unbelievable. Seriously, like you open it up and it like folds in like 10 different directions, and there's all these little doors you can open, and it's 3-dimensional. It's really flipping crazy. Like it's like an adult pop-up book, honestly.
Yep,
So many Easter eggs in there.
Yeah,
It's
I can't
so
wait.
cool.
I can't wait to see that. Did they send you that for free, Eric?
They did. The guys at Inside Editions, I shot them an email, and they showed them their site. They loved what we did.
That's
They loved
crazy.
the review structure,
Awesome.
and they're like, absolutely. So I think
That's
they're going to be
incredible.
sending me a couple other things as well, because they do the manuals like for the Falcon. And
Oh
the TIE
wow,
Fighter
that's
and stuff.
fantastic. That's fantastic.
I'm gonna
If there's
keep
one
you
thing that
guys
can be
posted.
said about you, Eric, it's that you hustle.
That's right.
You know, I do try.
Get it done.
You do a
because
good job with it too.
What I don't do is make money. So
How much?
free books.
How much do they cost, Eric? Do you know?
these ones, I believe, are on Amazon are somewhere between 50 and 60.
Okay, they're really
believe-
pricey. They're pricey. I mean, but I
They're
might. I
pricey.
think I have to have it. I think I
It's
do.
a lot of. It's so much work went into it, and that's the thing. Like, I haven't seen a pop-up book
Yeah.
in other than stuff in like a preschool for forever. And these things are really artistic. I mean, the way that they're done is really mind blowing. And I put a couple pictures in my review too, so you can see one of the pages that's open, and then you can see kind of a top down view they had from their site of the entire thing opened up.
I'll have to check that out.
Huge recommendation. And speaking of huge recommendations, last week the embargo lifted for the aforementioned Resistance Reborn, and I did post my review, no spoilers. Here at Utini, we do wait 10 days after a book's official release to post a spoiler review, but I did post my first impressions. And since that book, as of this recording, is coming out tomorrow, I'm assuming a lot of our people viewing right now have already picked it up. If you're listening to it right now, you may already be done with it because, guys, this book is fan-freaking-tastic.
Yeah, okay, so we talked about it for 2 seconds before the show, and oh my god, guys, Resistance Reborn is up there with, best books in canon so far. I'm not done with it. Eric, you finished it. I'm about 65-70% through it, and it is so unbelievably good. Rebecca, what's it? Roanhorse?
Roanhorse,
yeah. Rebecca Roanhorse perfectly gets all the main characters. I didn't realize how important this book is going to be for the Rise of Skywalker. This book is like Catalyst. Did you guys read Catalyst? This book is like Catalyst to Rogue One. It's the prequel to the movie. It's really important stuff. Characters that are going to be in the movie are introduced in this. You have to read this book before seeing The Rise of Skywalker. It's so unbelievably good.
And if you're only listening on audio and instead of watching the video, you can't see the huge smile on Corey's face.
Oh man, guys, this is why the expanded universe was originally good, back in the day with Legends, is because it truly expanded on the films, and we haven't touched that in canon at all, honestly. We haven't gotten anything main characters other than these tiny little bitty short stories that don't really have to do with anything. And this is important stuff about the Resistance and the First Order and big huge stuff about all of our main characters. Princess Leia's got a ton of stuff in it. It's a big deal. I honestly didn't know that it was going to be as big as it is, and it's huge. You have to read it.
Yeah, and the amount of characters from other EU specific canon books and comics that show up is mind-blowing. The fact that she pulled all this in for a first-time Star Wars author, which shouldn't surprise me because she's a great writer, but my god, it feels like her 10th book.
She clearly did a ton of research to do this. It's already talked about stuff that was in Bloodline that's turning out to be really major plot points. There's stuff from the Poe Dameron comic that's in there.
That's huge.
It's a ton of stuff. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe how much.
You've convinced me. I'll be reading it tomorrow.
you have to read it tomorrow.
As if it wasn't pre-ordered 6 months ago.
I know. It's just I'm just so jacked up about it. It just cannot believe how important. I just can't use another word. It's so important for the saga, I think, and. You got to read it. If you haven't picked it up, you're crazy. You got to pick it up now.
And if you haven't for some reason and you're listening to the show and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been away for a bit, head over to utini.com, use our Amazon affiliate, shoot us a little bit to get that book because you are not going to be disappointed. I'm always hustling. What can I say?
I was about to say the same thing. I've got a really big presentation for grad school tomorrow. And once that's over, the rest of the day is just Resistance Reborn for me.
Well,
that's the best.
Good luck not finishing it in one sitting because it will go that fast.
All right. That's now, real quick, I want to give a quick shout out to our friends in the chat. Our producer, Wes, is actually in there right now. He's with us for this show. He's been chatting along with you guys. And I see we got some awesome friends of ours in there. We got Patrick Ortiz himself is in there. Adam Dyson coming in from Australia. Meg Dowell, Rural Farm Boy. Carl's in there. Charles actually is in there right now.
Charles,
our buddy, Dr. Charles on rotation.
Oh, nice. He said he's saying hi between patients in the ED. Wes, you should say hello. I've got you. You should be able to say in now.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's everyone doing?
This is the infamous Wes, the sort of our community manager. He's sort of acting as a producer for the show. Little peek behind the curtain. What's up, man?
Hey, man. Y'all like your tweets? That's me.
Tweets.
The only one with a thicker Southern accent than me. And Rural Farm Boy, of course.
Exactly. Oh, so fantastic. Oh, and Juliana's in our chat as well. I meant to give her a shout out. So just want to say hey to everybody in there. Thank you for always checking and watching us. Wes, thank you for killing it on this show so far. I feel like we're going good. We're going to keep on keeping on because we have a couple more things to get to before our big break. We'll get Freddie in here afterwards. We'll dive into some Legends talk. But we got a couple site reviews we wanted to highlight. We try to highlight as many of those each week as we can because I know we sound like broken records, but the community of Utini is really what keeps us going, frankly, and it means the absolute world for us. So we got a couple site reviews. One was on Death Troopers from Ross G, friend of the show. Great Twitter presence. Love you, Ross. He gave Death Troopers a 2 out of 5.
Ooh, a 2.
Pretty low for Death Troopers. It's pretty generally liked, I'd say, by the Utini crowd, right?
I think I gave it like an 8.5.
Oh God. I try to give our books reviews based on how I've reviewed other books. And that puts things into perspective for me. But I like Death Troopers okay. I liked it more than 2 out of 5. At least 3 out of 5. What's that, 4 out of 10? I can't do it out of 5. I got to do that out of 10.
3 out of 5 is
Math
6.
is harder for the doctor.
60.
It is. That's true.
So go ahead and check out Ross's review over there. He says, fun concept, sloppy execution. Not his favorite. But we also got 2 reviews from our friend from last week. They call me T13, who reviewed Lost Stars by Claudia Gray. Guys, you want to guess what the rating was out of 5?
It better be 5.
Corey, you're so right. It's absolutely a 5 out of 5. T13 says a couple of great things in the review, finishing off with Lost Stars is a must-read for any fan.
It is.
The winner of the YA contest, by the way.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. Heather is our sort of main site community manager, and she held a cool little like breakdown, like March Madness kind of thing on our Facebook group, and Lost Stars won it.
Yeah,
Rightfully so.
YA canon novels.
Aren't you doing a reread right now?
I was doing a reread. I got about halfway through, and then I paused because I also have a book to read for a Legends Look Back episode. I'll be with hanging with Jared on in a bit. Which is, you know what? If you're hanging into the podcast, you get a little surprise reveal. That book is gonna be The Clone Wars Wild Space, featuring our Lord and Savior Bail Organa. So
I haven't even told Freddie about this yet. Hey, yeah, Freddie, by the way, Eric has already read a book for our podcast.
So that's why I had to stop
Fantastic.
Lost Stars. I had to read that. And then I'll be diving into Force Collector.
I got
after
that this
which
week
is
too,
coming out.
man. I don't think we're allowed to like show that book because it's embargoed, but we do have it.
We got it. It's coming.
Hey,
So,
speak of the devil, it's Freddie. He's back.
yeah, Freddie will be coming in just a second.
Oh, sorry. Spoiler
All
alert.
right.
We've
Spoiler
got
alert,
Freddie.
Freddie's coming in. Last review I want to get to is They Call Me T13 again for the Force Awakens novelization, 3 out of 5, and simply said, I read this because I'm a completionist.
Great
You know
title.
what? We get it.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
So some of the novelizations are like that, especially the new canon ones. We
Yeah.
really liked the solo novelization. We've been really open about that. I will go as far to say as I did not like the Last Jedi novelization. Like, not only...
I think I'm gonna be there with you. As far as like, it takes a lot for me not to like a Star Wars book. So I don't know. Like, it's a 6 out of 10, maybe somewhere around there.
I might give it lower than that. I don't know. I also read it like right after The Last Jedi. Well, no. When it came out in March, that was like peak Last Jedi hate. Like
Yeah.
peak hate.
That
So
was rough. Not by us, to clarify.
not by
If you're a
us.
first-time
No.
listener.
Absolutely not. Yeah, definitely not
Love
by
that
us.
movie.
But just I think a lot of all the surroundings may be affected by judgment of that book a little bit. So maybe I need to go back and reread it.
There was a lot of noise, but that review by They Call Me T13 is kind of like in football when after a game, you know, your team hasn't done so well. Hopefully this doesn't happen for the Cowboys tonight, Eric.
Thank you,
But it's after a
Jared.
game and things haven't gone well, and you say, well, the punter did great.
That is what it's like. It's supportive. It's like, you know what? We'll find something good. We'll get better. So thank you to T13. Thank you to Ross for those reviews. We do love seeing them. Keep them coming. We did get also a iTunes review this week that I actually forgot to put in the outline, but I remembered because it made my heart soar so much. So I'm going to read that real quick, and then we're going to take a quick break, get Freddie in on this call, and then talk a little bit about Legends. So we got a review last week from Casual Terrapin, which I enjoyed that name. I like terrapins, then I like thinking of one just like smoking a cigarette, chilling on a balcony.
That's a great handle.
Isn't it? And they say 5 out of 5. Thank you very much. The best cantina in the Outer Rim. If I could only listen to one Star Wars podcast, it would be this one. I listen to a few and enjoy them all, but The Living Force has become my favorite. I'm also a new fan of Inside the Force. Great podcast. Shout out to those guys. We love you. The podcast emphasizes discussing Star Wars literature, both canon and legends, while also discussing other Star Wars topics. The hosts have diverse opinions and preferences, but are respectful and fun. I've been looking for a positive, legends-friendly podcast and can now say, Chewie, we're home. Keep it up, guys. You're the best.
Man, that was great. I think the last 2 reviews we've gotten on iTunes have been the most well-written, well-thought-out, full of Star Wars reference reviews ever. They're fantastic. It's always great to get that. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, man.
We super appreciate it.
Beautiful. Hey, and they said legends, by the way. So I might have to turn them on to another podcast.
Is this the podcast for you? So we're going to take an early break here. When we come back, Freddie C is going to join us. We're going to chat all things legends. Be back in a moment.
I'm just going to let this roll live. So
roll live?
Yeah, they can get a little peek behind the curtain.
All right, well, we got to get Freddie doing Audacity recording, and then we'll be good.
That's okay.
Oh, my gosh.
I've unmuted you, Freddie.
You're watching us,
Cool.
Everyone. This is crazy.
I'm here.
You are.
What's up, buddy?
Your audio sounds great.
All right.
No tweakers in the background.
No. All right, I'm going to hit the bathroom real quick before we do this part 2.
All right, guys. I'm going to send our Be Right Back message up to the screen. We'll be back in just a second, and we'll see you then.
Original, never replicated red Millennium Falcon
Falcon.
shirt for our
First time I haven't been wearing a Star Wars shirt.
I threw we're back in the live stream now through this bag. Little peek behind the curtain. We've all got water
Yep.
at different times.
Little if you're in the Utini Cantina, you know this. I went on an expedition this week, and I got the first 2 Knights of Ren exclusive Funkos.
Nice.
GameStop and Hot Topic. I went after work. Hot Topic had literally one of them in the whole store, and it wasn't even in the system yet. They had to look up how to input a new piece of merchandise just for me to get that Funko. So if you have any Funkos you want to send, by all means, I'll take them.
But just share photos. Come on, don't beg for Funkos, Eric.
I will do any. I'm hustling, Jared. I'm a hustler.
The ultimate hustler. How many Funkos do you have, Eric?
80 something.
Wow.
Jeez,
I've got 4.
Love that.
What are you holding up?
It's a bottle
Who's
opener.
got this?
Oh, it's a bottle opener.
Luke's lightsaber.
Hold on. Let me pin you. Hold on, Freddie. Let me pin you. I gotta pin you. Like, if you're not talking, your camera isn't on the screen. What is this? The bottlets or bottle opener? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
You see that?
Classy.
Classy.
as well.
Classy.
I've got little lightsaber screwdrivers, but not bottle openers.
All right. Let's see how we're doing in our chat here. We got
Lots of stuff.
Adam. I do not necessarily need a Seahawks tee, but I understand your NFC love. I'll take it. Patrick, congrats on that Thrawn Funko on Amazon. Those are hard to get. And Royal Farm Boy, absolutely take that shot of whiskey. And Adam, if you don't drink whiskey at work, are you actually working?
That's right.
That's what I asked.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, and Juliana, thank you. Putting our faces to our voices as well.
Faces to voices. Faces with names.
Very cool.
Faces
All right,
with
ready to do
voices.
this part 2? Are
Yep.
we ready?
Yep. Wes, continue. If you haven't figured this out already, this is our lovely community manager, Wes, in the comments in here. So please continue to
right.
interact with us in the show. We'll give you shout outs while we're recording.
Yep. Freddie, are you on Audacity? Because we're not recording anything in Zoom, I noticed.
Oh, son
Yeah, I
of a
realized that too.
bitch. All right.
It's okay, we're all doing Audacity.
We are, but that's dangerous. Not
I
having a
know.
backup. I better hope it doesn't screw up, or we'll be re-recording this.
Yep.
Live life on the edge.
I just started recording now, by the way.
This
All right.
Wes, this is why I need you. I need somebody else to help me with the giant checklist of shit to do.
Record on your Audacity now.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Started mine.
Ready to go back?
Yes. Mine is
All right.
already going. Is your I kept mine rolling. Do you guys all keep
Yeah,
yours
mine's
rolling?
been going the
yeah,
whole time.
Audacity's
Okay.
been going
Okay.
the whole
Okay.
time, yep.
All right, Freddie,
All
are
right,
you
I'll bring
recording
us
in
back.
Audacity now too?
Yep. I'm recording.
All right,
I'll bring us
Wes.
back in just a sec.
I'm gonna mute you again. There we go.
All right, here we go. And we are back after quite literally the best cameo we've ever had on this show. Solid gold. We can stop now.
I love,
We did
Eric,
it.
that when I've got a cameo, you say, it's fine. And when other people have cameos, you say they're amazing. I listened to this like 4
I
days
just
later, and I'm like,
I
wait,
trust the
what?
Force. I gotta trust what I gotta trust what I feel on the inside.
That's
And
right.
that
see
one
how
I
it
just
is.
know
Been you
is
this
perfect.
time.
Well, there's that.
Okay.
Is it
So
him?
that-
Is it actually you? You freaking.
I'm a loyalist to myself. But that other voice you may have heard, if you're just listening to our audio podcast, welcome back. That is Freddie C., host of Legends Look Back, producer of The Living Force, and wearer of a Galaxy's Edge hat. What's up, man?
What's going on, peeps? How's it going?
Doing great. Happy to have
Chilling.
you here from sunny Cali.
It's not so sunny anymore.
Yeah,
but that was a
all
fun
right, well-
adventure.
It's been dark here for 3 hours, so we do all right. So we are so psyched tonight to now officially have the whole Legends Look Back crew with us. Legends Look Back, as we said at the top of the episode, is one of our Patreon exclusive podcasts. They have 2 episodes out right now, episode 0 and episode 1. They're both freaking fantastic. I've loved them both. So I want to ask you guys, how did the idea for Legends Look Back first come about from your point of view? Like, how did you decide this is what we want to talk about? What's how did the show start with you?
Well, it's only natural. There's so many Star Wars Legends books. There's plenty for us to talk about. We've got the amazing, just next level novels like Kenobi and Darth Plagueis, the original Thrawn trilogy, and then there's some really crazy, weird Star Wars Legends books too. I mean, there's just such an incredible wealth of material to talk about. Every now and then on the Living Force, you guys would mention something about Legends and say, but we're talking about the canon books here. And so you'll do a 2-part roundtable on the next Thrawn book, which we're going to have for years. Just more Thrawn books. But there were some Thrawn books published in the 90s that are also worthy of some discussion. So Corey hit me up a couple months ago and said we want to start a new Patreon exclusive podcast, and hit me with your best ideas. And I hit him with a couple of decent ideas and a couple of terrible ideas.
That's how we do it, Utini. That's how it all
Legends
works.
Look Back is what rose to the surface, and it really clicked into place once I got Freddie on board. We've got a lot in common, and it was clear from in the first few minutes of talking that we had something here that I think was going to work out. What do you think, Freddie?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is with Star Wars, we're just going to keep moving forward, right? So canon's going to be coming out book after book. But every once in a while, you're going to want to go back. You want to check out the Legends books, the stuff we grew up with for, 30 years that it was around. And you know what better place to do it but another podcast on Utini.
Yeah.
Right.
And Freddie, I'm actually very interested to hear this story, because like when I pitched all this to Jared and when he was pitching things back to me, like I don't think you actually came up by name specifically. Like I think I said, hey, here's a list of people on the team that I think would be a good fit. Like maybe you should hit them up. And then suddenly the first episode was released. You had edited it. You were in it. And I was like, all right, I guess it's Freddie. So how did this happen? Like tell me, how did you end up on this?
You know what? I would say it's a little bit of fate. Jared got a hold of me and you got a hold of me, and we were going through some things, right? And I'm already doing a lot of the producing and whatnot for the Living Force. So I think it just kind of worked its way in, and it just snapped.
Yeah.
The true story in all of this is not quite romantic. If you guys want to hear how the sausage is made, and that is Corey gave me a list of team members who he thought had microphones.
Yes.
Yes. I started at the top.
That's it. Yeah. Team members that had, I'm like, listen, these are the people that I know have quality microphones. And that's kind of like the number one thing.
During episode
amazing.
0, I thought like, hey, if this doesn't work out with Freddie, I'll just try the next person on the list.
That's right.
I kept you, Freddie.
Episode 0.1, episode 0.2, 0.3.
Yeah, it's funny how it just kind of happened and worked out. So yeah, and like Jared said, we spoke for like 2 minutes, and I was like, all right, this is gonna be great.
The reason it works out is Freddie has a really good knowledge of the Legends expanded universe. He's actually read enough for us to be able to go back and mine this wealth of material for the podcast. It wouldn't have worked to have somebody who just read 5 or 6 of the highlights. We needed somebody who loved this stuff as much as I did. And he and I have similar stories in how we got into Star Wars. For more on that, you have to listen to Legends Look Back episode 1, where we kind of give an intro to how we got into Star Wars. But you start with special editions, right, Freddie?
Yeah, special editions for sure. And I think what got me really into Legends was just finding them in classrooms. At the time, it wasn't Legends, but just finding them in classrooms and just picking them up at school and just reading them.
Luck of the draw. It's just like whatever we find on the shelf. There was no utini.com.
Well, that's the crazy thing for me too, because I remember picking up Young Jedi Knights at school, and now I'm thinking, kids that go to school nowadays, are there still the same kind of Star Wars books in their libraries? One of my day jobs I have is working in a school. I'm not going to say which one, but I've been in their library, and I remember one time I saw Queen Shadow like featured on a shelf, and I was like, "What? Awesome!"
Yeah, that definitely did not happen at my tiny little school in the middle of nowhere, Appalachia. Like they hadn't even heard of Star Wars where I'm from.
We need to start a fundraiser for Utini to get all of the Young Jedi Knights books in every single public school library across the United States.
That's the platform. Absolutely.
Nothing but Young Jedi Knights.
There it is.
All 14 of them.
What a series. And I think that's one of the cool things too, is that, I love talking about the canon on this show. When we started this show with me, Corey, and Charles, we all talked about kind of where we were coming from. And I was very blunt. Like, I've read way more canon than I have Legends, but I feel like everyone's story about getting into Legends is so personal, because the new canon, a lot of us, we heard about the Disney acquisition, we checked out a book, but we're all kind of adults. We're all figuring it out. Whereas Legends, it is I was in school, or I was in a library, or I had a friend that hid it like porn in the woods. Like, I don't know what people did. I'm assuming there's a unique story for everyone.
I was just telling my wife this afternoon, my 5-year-old daughter's trying to learn how to snap. And I was like, I think when I was 12, I spent the whole summer just trying to learn how to whistle and snap. And my wife looked at me and she was like, I believe that. You're a monster. I can't believe your mother lived with you. And I said, I think that was the same summer she started dropping me off at the library.
Yeah.
And that's how I got into Legends.
That's true though, man. Eric. Like Legends was like a discovery, I think, for most people. Yeah. And I know that canon is like that for a lot of people. Like it's just it's like they just discover Star Wars books are a thing, and then they find Utini, and we guide them through everything because that's what we do, and we're great at it. But like Legends was something different. It's everybody that talks about it was like I was a kid and I stumbled across it, or I knew somebody and they were kind of into reading the comics and they gave me one. Like it is a really cool personal story, which is why we always like to ask our authors like what is their. We've got some really crazy, unique stuff from the authors because they're all older than us.
Yeah. John Jackson Miller talks about his love for the old Marvel comics, which I don't really have much patience for.
No,
but for him, like it's everything.
I have some on my shelf behind me. Actually, I'm not sure if you can really see them in the shop. Up there behind my AT-AT, this is a signed picture of Darth Vader right there. This is a comic right there. It's like issue number 4 of the original Marvel series. It's got like. I think it's the one with like shirtless Luke on the front of it, and he looks like He-Man, like holding up a lightsaber. Like it's
long live Buff Luke.
Yes, seriously, and it's like the Star Destroyers in them are like triangles. They don't look like Star Destroyers at all. It's so weird. Like it's not Star Wars. It doesn't look like Star Wars at all. The characters are so crazy. It's bizarre. I'm like, and that was people's first like look into Star Wars expanded universe was this crazy comic thing. So
yeah. And looking in our chat here for a second, another quick shout out. We got some people talking about how they got into Legends. Patrick Ortiz says his school library had Star Wars books, but he used to go to the public library every week to get even more. Adam Dyson did not have any in his school. Fun fact, Corey, rural farm boy, lives in northern Appalachia.
Really? I did not know that.
So there you go. He's still looking for those Star Wars books as well.
Interesting.
And then let's see here. We got a lot of now people are saying a lot of their first Star Wars books. Patrick started with Republic Commando. Adam didn't find the EU till he was an adult, so we're glad we can be here for that for you.
Absolutely.
He said his first Star Wars book was Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void.
Interesting.
Starting at the literal start.
That's right. That's right.
So lots of cool ways to get into Legends.
And I know that we're shilling Legends I almost said Legends Library.
That's Coffee with Kenobi.
That's right. Yeah, I know we're shilling Legends Look Back a lot on our show, and like this is not just a Patreon thing, right? We're gonna drop these. I said this in the last show. We're gonna drop some of these episodes into our main feed. So I think the first one would be a great one, don't you guys think? I mean, you guys sort of started with a lot of the sort of original Legends stuff, like kind of what is Legends, how you all got into it, and that sort of thing. So if you're listening to this, that's right. If you're listening to this in the audio feed, keep an eye out because episode 1 of Legends Look Back is going to be in the stream, so you can find it and listen to it and kind of get a little bit behind the scenes. Now, if you want every single episode, which is going to be like twice, 2 to 3 times a month, I think is kind of the plan right now, right, guys?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
If you want to listen to every single episode, that's at least a $5 Patreon tier. So $5 a month, you get a bunch of extra content, and this is one of those things. But if you don't want to be a Patreon subscriber, which is totally fine, you can occasionally get some of those episodes in the mainstream. So
100.
I feel like Corey just hit me with an early Life Day present.
I did.
That's what it is, man. All right, so real quick shout out because one of our favorites, Juliana Mendez, says she read Revenge of the Sith novelization when she was 18. And man, what a Legends book to start with.
Yes,
we all ride pretty hard for that one.
Man, that's
it's next level. There's a Twitter account you guys should all follow. That's just a bot that like puts Revenge of the Sith novelization quotes.
Yeah,
and I sometimes mine those for use in collections.
You should.
All right.
You should because they're really good.
Well, I'll tell you what. That is a pretty well-known Legends book, and we've mentioned a couple other ones like Kenobi and such that are classics. But what we want to do with this part of the show, we want to go around each of us and kind of tell you about a Legends book that we love that may not be, one of the top tier or one of the most popular that you can go out and check out for yourself because we love it so much and it still remains awesome. So Jared and Freddie, as the host of Legends Look Back, I'm going to give you that responsibility first because I know Corey didn't prep anything probably, and I want to go last. So, Jared, What is the Legends book that people may not know about that still rings true with you?
Well, it's weird that I'm going first because mine's definitely off the beaten path. Mine's not even prose. The book that I'm going to recommend is actually The Dark Empire Omnibus. So
Okay.
Dark Empire 1, 2, and 3. This is definitely one of the most divisive books from the Legends continuity. In some ways, it doesn't even fit into the Legends universe. Wes is over there laughing. He must have some opinions about Dark Empire. It's controversial, to say the least. It's written by Tom Veitch with art by Cam Kennedy, and it did Resurrected Palpatine before it was cool. Okay.
Okay, is this the Clone Palpatine one? Is that what this one is?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Spoiler alert for a 28-year-old book. Luke basically has to turn to the dark side in order to infiltrate Palpatine's trust, in order to take him down. And in order to fully infiltrate the dark side, he grows a mullet, as one should.
It's the only way you can enter the true realm of the dark side is by growing a mullet.
Especially in 1991. So it's one of those things that, I really came to love this book. I discovered it on the shelf of my library one day that I was just hanging out, and had been dropped off there, I think, for my mom to get me out of her hair. And I found this and I was like, what? Palpatine had clones? Of course he did. He's the ultimate puppet master. He would have a contingency plan. He would have contingency plans for his contingency plans. And there's so many cool things about Dark Empire. Leia wields a lightsaber in order to take down Luke, who's trying to take down Palpatine. It's just out of this world. It's got some cool super weapons. The World Devastators. They're basically huge vacuum cleaners, like massive vacuum cleaners. Freddie's nodding, so he knows what I'm talking about here.
So it's Spaceballs.
Yeah, you could actually find that in the N64 Rogue Squadron game.
Oh, you're right. I'd forgotten about that. Totally.
Right.
So it's really amazing. It's so weird, but it's like dark and edgy in the best 90s way possible. The third volume in it has a different artist, and I don't like it as much, but the basic idea of like resurrected Palpatine, Luke trying to get as close to the Emperor as possible. One last tease for this book before I turn it over to Freddie. The final duel between Palpatine and Luke is got mullet Luke versus naked Palpatine. Enough said. Mic drop.
Oh my. Okay, so real quick, we unmuted our lovely manager here, Wes. You made a face that our audio people can see. Explain your thoughts about this book.
All right. So anything where someone dons the mullet holds a special place in my heart, being from Texas. There are a couple guys that I play softball with that have legitimate mullets that they go to work with because they think it's funny. So, anytime that, Luke, of all people, has a mullet. Well, how do you know that? How do you know that he keeps the mullet the whole time? Does it say that there's like a description every?
Well, it's comics. It's a graphic novel.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, and the art is stunning.
You
Absolutely
see the
stunning.
stunning nature of the mullet, like drinking Athalas Siren's milk straight from the breast on Octo holds nothing to willfully having a mullet.
Willfully having a mullet and fighting a naked Palpatine clone.
Amazing.
The cool thing about it, I was so into this book and had found it at the library. When I was in college, I did a study abroad in Zambia, and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she mailed me this hardcover collection of all three Dark Empire 1, 2, and 3. She mailed it all the way across the world for me to have in the middle of my study abroad. That's when I knew. Guys, that's when I knew. Find you a partner who will mail you Star Wars across the world.
Specifically, naked Palpatine in Zambia when you need it.
That's all you need.
And that's, again, one of the things we love about Legends. You can get really weird about it, and that's so freaking fun. Freddie, what's your choice, man?
You know what? I think that's the show, guys.
We're not going to get better than naked Palps.
Yeah, so as always, as I've always done on this show, I'm going to break the rule. I have two books.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Two
Freddie.
Oh! All right.
You
All right,
mean
first
like
one's real
when
quick.
you came in on the Living Forest? We're like, hey, so what's your favorite canon book? And Freddie's like, oh, Darth Plagueis. Just like, bro,
Darth Plagueis.
there was one rule. There was only one rule.
Remember
That's when
we
I knew
said
he was
the
going to be
words?
perfect for our Legends podcast.
All right, what's your first book out of your rule breaking 2, man?
All right. So this one right here, The Essential Reader's Companion, and this is a Legends book because it was released, I believe, just before the Disney acquisition, or maybe around the same time. But it has basically a story, synopsis, some background of every Legends book that was released, and some comics.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's Pablo, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's Pablo Hidalgo. That's a really good one. In fact, before Utini, that was how I did things. Like, I seriously got that book right when it came out, and I used it to direct a lot of my Legends exploration. And a lot of the inspiration from the site in general came from that book. Like, when I was trying to figure out what sorts of information we want to include in our timeline and things like that, like, that's where I pulled it from, was the Reader's Guide. And it's got that
The
sweet...
original Utini.
That's right. It's got that sweet picture of Yoda on the front, too. Like, he's, like, reading a book. It looks sick.
And it's full of original art.
Yeah, it totally is.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I actually met Pablo Hidalgo just after he published it, and he said
Small
that
flex.
he would spend every day listening to audiobooks, just constantly on the bus, going, on his way to work, at work, and he would just keep writing just summaries of each one and looking them up and like finding content. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that for people that are studying for Star Wars trivia, like Laura from Force Toast was recently on the Schmodown, if anyone saw that. They talk about studying is best done by watching the movies like with subtitles and listening to audiobooks that way, because you absorb the information so much more that way. Because there's little things we miss, like when 3PO yells out the odds or something. If you're watching a bunch, you can get it, but if you have the subtitles on, you will read it and literally remember the fact.
That's interesting.
So guides like that I think are so important, because there's things that I've probably heard a ton of times,
Yeah.
but if I don't read the guide, I'm not seeing it in front of my face.
That book is really big too, like in size. Like, it's very thick, and like Freddie's kind of showing it off here. It's really thick. It's a big book, and like there's a lot of really obscure content in it, right, Freddie? I mean, you got like short stories and stuff.
Short stories from the magazine. You got Dooku hanging out with Boba Fett here in this picture.
What?
Yeah.
I just saw that. Actually, I need to update the Dooku guide with some of the stuff I found in that just yesterday. This is why Freddie and I have chemistry. Is we're on the same wavelength here.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. Well, other than breaking the rules with both 2 books and a reference book, what's the second one? What do you got?
So I've mentioned this one plenty of times if you've listened to Utine in the past, but it would definitely be the book that brought me into the EU, which is the True Set Bakura.
Oh,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so wonky because it kind of hits, a lot of people think Star Wars is just sci-fi, but it's actually sci-fi and fantasy, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of fantasy involved.
For sure.
A lot of mythology, right? It digs from a lot of mythology. So this book got it wrong because it hit the sci-fi part way too hard. So you've got, yeah, and Jared, you can, if you've read it, I'm not sure if you have, but it's weird because they bring in like these reptilian overlords, sort of, that are.
Yeah, I call it Star Wars with dinosaurs.
Yes, that's it. That is absolutely it. And then Luke almost falls in love, but not quite. It's just the strangest thing ever.
So many of the
I feel like that's
original
a lot of
Legends
Luke.
books. Go ahead, Eric.
So I feel like that's a lot of Luke with like, you know what? He's the star. We tried to give him a love interest in the movies, but it ended up being his sister. So we're really gonna try to make something stick until Mara Jade comes along.
There's a lot of weird love interest for Luke in the Legends timeline. I mean, you got to read some of those old Legends books just see Luke's love life roller coaster. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of really crappy romance in some of the other stuff. Like,
It's so great.
getting off topic a little bit, have you guys all read The Courtship of Princess Leia?
I have not. It's on my shelf.
I haven't.
now.
I haven't either. I bet Jared and Freddie
Oh
have
yeah,
both read it though.
I've read it multiple times.
Have you really? So
Yeah.
Stacy on our team, who we're gonna have to get on here at some point. Stacy, that was her first book, and she feels about it the way that you feel about Truce of Bakuras, and like she swears up and down that like it's amazing. It needs to be in every single guide. I have to be like, Stacy, no, we can't put that in every guide. Like she's like, but it's so good, and it's a weird book about like Han Solo and Princess Leia, and she has to pretend to be in love with somebody. I think it's weird.
Yeah, it's got Force witches riding Rancors. That's all you need.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy
amazing.
is that a lot of this you could actually see in the Clone Wars, right? You had Force Witches, which is the Night Sisters, right?
They ripped off a courtship of Princess Leia, and you know that, Freddie.
There you go. There you go.
That's the venomous fire of the Legends Look Back crew right there.
No, it is cool how Rebels brought in Thrawn and Clone Wars brought in some elements of the EU, but instead of Korriban, you've got Moraban.
Yep.
Some of these
It's even more.
appropriations, even more Korriban.
But both excellent choices. I haven't read Bakura, and I remember I read the first X-Wing book, and Wedge kept talking about Bakura and like his experience there, and I'm like, man, that's some good placement. But someday, again, it's on the shelf. If these canon books ever slow down, which don't get me wrong, I hope they literally never do.
Right.
I'm gonna keep trying to go back. If nothing else for this podcast.
That's right.
All right, Corey, I'm gonna use my eminent powers. Throw it to you.
I have 2 books here, which I'm realizing
God!
now that I'm sitting here that they're very similar. All right, so it's kind of like, yeah. Sorry, actually,
I'm grabbing a stack. I'm making a bigger choice.
I took my headphones off. I was like looking on the bookshelf behind me. I think when you were introducing the rules, so I didn't hear the whole one book rule. All right, so I got 2. All right.
You didn't get the rules.
Should we go
were
through all
saying them.
14, Jared?
Yes, all 14. Jared
Of the young Jedi Knights.
Here, control yourself, Eric. Jared. Jesus. Oh my God, what is this episode turning into? All right, I have 2 books here. Both are very interesting. Tell me if you guys have read these. One of them is Death Star.
On the shelf.
The other
That's one of the 20 that I haven't read.
Nice. The other one is Millennium Falcon, which is very
also
similar.
on the shelf.
Both of these books are kind of like short story collections. Little less so like than other short story collections in Star Wars. Like a lot of the short stories that we get are like just literally short stories. They're just comprised of multiple chapters. Every chapter is something completely new and different and weird. But like they don't really connect or have anything to do with each other. These books are both not really like that. Millennium Falcon, by James Lucena, who is my personal favorite author, wrote Darth Plagueis, a number of other really incredible books. The Catalyst. Millennium Falcon is kind of like about the history of the Millennium Falcon. It takes place initially. It's one of the last books in the Legends timeline to exist. Like the story is told and set in the time period like way after all the other books, way after the films, like 40 years after everything. Like Han Solo and Princess Leia are there with their like granddaughter, who is Jason Solo's daughter that he didn't like know about and everything, and that's a huge big plot thing in Legends and stuff. So this is like it's like really, really far down in the timeline. So it's very interesting that it exists in the timeline almost at the very end of like the known Legends timeline, but like the stories are all way backwards, which is super trippy. So
man, I like that though, because when you first said it's about like the history of the Millennium Falcon, and because it's Lucena who's so technical, I thought it would be like, well, the engines of the Millennium Falcon ran at a certain temperature, and I'm like, oh god, 400 pages of that? Oh great, I get it.
So no, hey, it's 75 chapters.
It is.
No, the other one, Death Star. Sorry, Death Star is 75
chapters.
75 chapters.
Oh, sorry. So it would be like, well, when the Death Star was first created, the metal was made.
Yes.
Great.
It's very interesting. And the
sorry about those levels, Matt.
Yeah, it's destroyed. destroyed. Control yourself into your mic, Eric.
Why would I start now, Corey?
The one of the cool things about Millennium Falcon is that every chapter is a new owner. Like Han, Solo, and Lando were not the original owners of the Millennium Falcon. There were a lot of other owners of the ship, and that's the way the story is told, is all these adventures that every owner of the ship had, and it's super cool. It's a really, really good read. It's not super technical. The whole like old Han and Leia and their granddaughter is very confusing if you don't know much about Legends. Like, just read up what's her name? I can't remember what her name is. I don't know. Alana, yeah. Look up that, read her whole article on Wikipedia, and you'll have probably all the background.
I think you can just jump into it. Like, it
You
doesn't
think so?
really matter.
I don't know.
It doesn't really matter.
It is Luceno, though. But anyway, it's just
Guys, I think you can listen to Legends Look Back on the Utini Patreon, and they'll fill you in.
yeah. Probably not.
Yeah, if we can get that deep in the timeline.
Yeah.
Corey, doesn't one of the stories talk about the Falcon being like used for a circus troupe at one point?
Yeah, I think so. I'm telling you, it's so bizarre. It's a great book.
Jared, that's called the original trilogy.
Ba-boom-tsh. The other book I have here is Death Star, which is very similar in that, like, it's a collection of short stories all about, like, all these different people that worked on the Death Star or had some connection to it, either Rebel or Empire. And I think that, like, a lot of them kind of die in the book because the Death Star was destroyed, and, like, you get their sort of last
Spoilers.
wishes. I didn't say who dies. It's 75 chapters, a lot of flipping characters. Okay, but it's a great book
chapters.
too.
And who wrote that one?
This one is Michael Reeves and Steve Perry. It's one of the few books that have two authors in Legends, which is very interesting.
Yeah,
Okay,
they did a few as a duo.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
remember
I
what
kind of
that
want to use
was.
that as a weird segue because my book also has two authors, even though you may not know it at first. So my Legends book that I chose is one of the newer Legends books. I just read it this year, but it is Honor Among Thieves
So good.
by James S.A. Corey. And James S.A. Corey is a pen name for two different authors. They write the Expanse books, if you're a fan of those, and they wrote this Legends book. Now, this book is, as Jared said, when I mentioned the title, it's so good. It's fun. It's a fun heist book, and my hot take is that this is kind of what I wanted Scoundrels to be a little more like.
Ooh.
Interesting.
And here's why. I think that James S.A. Corey, this writing duo, writes episode 4 Han the best I've ever seen. I think he is cocky still. He's learned a little bit, but he's not quite all the way redeemed, so he still has a ways to go in Empire and Jedi. And that's key because it is about, Han, Chewie running a heist. They're given a mission by Leia at the start of the book. And they're about to go get their money. They're going to go pay Jabba. Everything's going to be great. There's going to be no carbonite. And Leia's like, hey, hold up. Can you do this one thing for us? And Han's like, yeah. So they got to go get Scarlet Hark, who is this spy. Brand new character for this book. She's incredible. I want 18 more books with her.
Best Star Wars name ever.
Yeah, right? Scarlet Hark. She's a great spy. She's got great dialogue. There's a little bit of like, not quite a full love triangle with Han, Leia, and Scarlet, but like it's implied enough that they have a lot of fun with it without making her like just a prop. You get to see Han bump up against the rebellion bureaucracy a little bit. You get to see Leia actually running the rebellion a little more between episodes 4 and 5. And it really feels like a bridge between Legends and canon. Because it feels like something that actually could happen. It's a little more character-driven than some of the older Legends stuff. Because if you listen to this podcast a lot, I love that about the new canon. I love that it's more character-driven than plot-driven. And I think this book gets a little bit more in that direction. And it's really paced super well. It's a super fast read. It's not quite as dense as some of the other awesome Legends books, which is a great feature of them, right? I love that
Just
they're
a
dense.
ton of fun.
Yeah, but yeah, Honor Among Thieves, it's meat and potatoes Star Wars, I would say. So
That was just a blast.
Yeah.
I think it was also one of the last 4 or 5 Legends books.
absolutely, it was. It was meant to be. It's a duology in the Empire and Rebellion books, quote unquote, with Razor's Edge, which is the Leia book, which I have, but again, haven't read. I know they're somewhat connected, but it was one of the final books.
Oh,
to
Heir to
come
the
out before
Jedi was supposed to be the third in that trilogy. They really dodged a bullet and distancing
Yeah.
themselves from that one.
Because I've heard that book.
Apologies if you
Not
like Heir to the
everyone's
Jedi.
favorite. But yeah, I love that book. I think it's a lot of fun. I mean, I find that I'm drawn a lot to good Han books. I love Han as a character when he's done well. When he's not done well, I mean, it's rough. But yeah, I freaking love that book.
Great choice, Eric. That might be in my top 10. Could be top 20, but it's just fantastic. I might have to go back and
Top
reread that
50.
one.
There we go. Top 50. I'll take it out of the 200, 300 books we got total. But I do got to say, like, the idea that books like that bumped up right against the Legends canon line is kind of unfortunate, you know what I mean? Because I think a lot of people got concerned with, does this count? Does this not count? And a few stories got lost in the mire. And I think that's one of the things we try to do at UTini is say, you know what? You get to see the banner at the top of the book, but it doesn't matter. Enjoy the story,
Right. Enjoy the Star Wars that speaks to you. And, even within Legends, and this is one of the things about Legends, like very little actually fits into a solid continuity within Legends.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at my shelves here. I've got the glove of Darth Vader over here. That doesn't fit. All right.
Yeah, I think people sort of remember Legends differently than they actually are, as they do with a lot of things. It probably has some sort of psychological name, like a phenomenon that people look back on something more fondly than it actually was. Like the Legends continuity was really trash. Like it was
messy.
It
was messy.
It was not
especially
very
towards
good.
the beginning.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah. So like all that stuff existed in the same timeline, and like it's not continuous at all, and it's crazy and different and wild, and like it wasn't until much later when they started to give things like a lot of serious like thought about putting it together and stuff.
Yeah. So basically, at the end of this, as we're wrapping up this show, we want to give a giant shout out to both Jared and Freddie on Legends Look Back, but also Legends as a whole, because if you want stories that are meticulously connected and that are going forward always going to be entwined, then canon's the way to go. Absolutely. If you want some stories that are also just some great tales about your favorite characters or characters you don't even know yet, or can get really weird with mullets and naked people, like Legends is the way to go.
That's right.
And they're always going to be there.
And it's not all weird either. We should clarify. Not
No,
a lot of it's
no,
weird.
no,
A lot
no.
of it is
It's epic.
totally normal, epic Star Wars. Like stuff like
Yeah.
the X-Wing series, the
The
Thrawn trilogy,
Kenobi, Plagueis,
all that stuff. Like the Legacy series, which I'm always harping on, is super good. The Fate of the Jedi series, which takes place after the Legacy series, all that stuff is just like hardcore, straight, normal Star Wars with our main characters, and it's really, really, really good content. Like,
What Legends does well is it builds these long storylines. You've got 9-book series. New Jedi Order's like 18 books. You're right, a huge series. If you want to sink your teeth into Star Wars, Legends is a great place for you.
Yeah, and if you want to hear more about Legends stuff, again, this Patreon show, we're going to put it up on the timeline every once in a while, but Legends Look Back, guys, I know you got a couple episodes lined up. What can people look forward to, or what can bring them into Legends Look Back coming up? What books are on the table?
Go ahead, Freddie.
Okay, yeah. So we've got Kenobi coming up, which should be real interesting. We should. It should be interesting because it's really close to the actual episodes that are going to be released. So it's going to be interesting to see the difference between the two, right? The one that we've read, the one that we've had for so long, and this new show that's coming out. So that should be definitely interesting.
Just went back and reread Kenobi in preparation for the podcast, and I mean that's a book that's just great to read and reread time and time again. It's like this classic Western in Star Wars. It's got all the hallmarks of Tatooine, dewbacks and Jawas and sand people. Ben Kenobi, who's like he's through with this stuff. He wants to be done, and he's jaded. And
It's a Western.
He's seen some stuff.
It's a Western, 100%.
Yeah. Awesome. And then again, like we said earlier in the show, I'll be jumping on after that Kenobi episode with Clone Wars Wild Space, talking some Bail Organa love. So very excited. Real quick before we get out of here, Juliana Mendez in our chat just said, hey, you guys should do a top 10 Legends books each. We don't have time for that, but I do want to put us on the spot a little bit and do top 3. Okay?
Oh my gosh.
So I'm going to vamp here for a quick second. Corey's going to go last because he's bad at this. So I think we should go around and say, off the cuff, we're not going to hold you to it, your top 3 Legends books. And I'm going to say, these don't have to be necessarily the ones you want to reread the most, but the top 3 that maybe had the biggest impact on you, that you really kind of hold near and dear to your heart. And now, just because I like orders, Jared, I'm coming to you first.
Well, it just so happens that I keep a spreadsheet about my favorite
Yes,
Legends
you
books.
do!
I actually have backup
Incredible.
spreadsheets. This is the days before the Utini bookshelf. So
Wonderful.
in lieu of not taking some of the like more, just classic Legends books that are everybody's favorites. I mean, there's some that are just top notch and standouts. Very personally, for me, I love the Jedi Apprentice series. In particular, I owned the first two as kids, The Rising Force and The Dark Apprentice, about Qui-Gon's apprentice before Obi-Wan. Xanatos, which, what a great name. Come on, guys.
Great. Sounds like a Final
Xanatos.
Fantasy boss.
So I love the Jedi Apprentice books. I wrote my first piece for Utini was about Jedi Apprentice in view of Master and Apprentice, trying to take the two and compare and contrast. You can read that on the site. I also really love the we've talked about the Young Jedi Knights. I'm not sure if those are going to count in my top three. So I'm gonna say Jedi Apprentice. I love Darth Maul Shadowhunter.
That's on my shelf. I'm very excited.
There's this great parallel arc in that with Darth Maul and then this female Jedi Padawan Darsha Asant, and I love the way their stories go back and forth. That one's great. And in the New Jedi Order, there's a great one that's kind of a callback to the Anakin Solo young reader books, and it's Edge of Victory 1 Conquest. It's a great personal story about Anakin Solo.
Perfect. Excellent list. Freddie, what do you got? Top
three. I would say, this falls a lot with the order that I read the first two. The last one is just a recent addition, but the first two are Rogue Squadron. That one is it just holds real dear to my heart because I just loved the ships, right? That's what I collected. So when I saw the book, I was like, oh, that's it. That's my book. And I read it, and it was hard to follow, especially the dog
favorite
fights.
book, right? With Corran Horn?
Corey's number one favorite character, of course.
We're not going there. All right, we're not going there.
And it just overall, it hit a spot that I was really looking for. And see, number two. I'm not going to say True Bakura because I always say that. So number two would be, this one was around the time I was playing Star Wars Galaxies, Death Troopers. It's really interesting, right? Like, if you've read Death Troopers, it's the only Star Wars book that really has like a sense of horror and fear, and like you just don't know what's going to happen. And I would say it's around the same time where zombies really started hitting the shelves, right? They were everywhere at one point. It was a fad. That would be number two. Especially, the tie-in with Star Wars Galaxies. That was real fun. And then the last one, which we're going to be reviewing, and I'm not going to say too much about it, but is Kenobi. And what I really liked about Kenobi was you could see the struggle, right? And I'll leave this for our episode coming out, but for those who haven't read it, it's a Western, absolute Western, and it just evokes everything that Western books and movies bring out, right? There's a hero, there's a damsel in distress. It's fantastic.
All right. Well, I was going to put Kenobi in mine as well, but I will shift that and listen to your episode very eagerly. I'm going to say, for my first one, I'm going to say Han Solo: The Paradise Snare by A.C. Crispin. It's young Han at its best, very inspirational for Solo. You can tell when you read it. Got some excellent characters. She writes Han possibly the best out of anyone I've ever read, and really got me sunk into that universe. So giant shout out for that whole Crispin trilogy, but The Paradise Snare is excellent.
Oh, hold on, Eric. I just got a message from Charles. Charles says that A.C. Crispin is not good and those books are trash.
Oh my gosh, Charles! That's not like you at all, and he's not here to defend himself, so it must be true.
Not even here to defend himself.
100% true. Definitely happened.
Got to show up on this show, Charles. All right, my number two, I'm going to say The Revenge of the Sith novelization. I think that ultimately that is one of the best books in the history of Star Wars, period. And that's all it needs to be said. We've already mentioned it on this show a bunch. It's perfect. Makes that movie more than I ever thought it could be. And then third, I'm going to wrap it up with What was I thinking? Oh, Darth Bane: Path of Destruction, the first Bane book. Maybe, I mean, honestly, any of those three. I'm just saying the first ones because I want you all to start at the beginning of those trilogies if you haven't. But the Bane trilogy is kind of the most epic level dark side you're gonna get. So I got you some Smuggler, I got you some film, and I got you some Dark Side. Those are my top three.
I stayed up all night reading that.
Oh God!
Yeah.
How were your dreams?
I was just awake. I didn't see.
Fair enough. All right, Corey, bring us home.
Eric, my like favorite, like if I were to do a real top 10 list, would probably look very similar to yours as far as like favorite stuff. But like I'm gonna give you like the super personal answer. Like these are like the books that hold such a special place in my heart, which is what I really think that Juliana is really going for when she asks us this. And I have three interesting ones. The first is, I don't know if you mentioned these already, Jared, but the Last of the Jedi series, you touched on it briefly in that first episode of Legends Look Back.
Totally.
And the Last of the Jedi series is a Scholastic series. It's very small. They're kids' books. They are really simple reads, but there's the first one is called The Desperate Mission. It's got Obi-Wan on the cover, like holding a lightsaber. And I remember reading that book. And I've said 1,000 times that Invincible by Troy Denning is the first Legends book first Star Wars book I ever read. And it is, because that was when I was understanding what Star Wars books were and I discovered what Legends was and all that sort of thing. But The Last of the Jedi Desperate Mission was probably actually the in-time first book I ever read. Just because I was like a kid and I didn't really know that Star Wars books were a thing, and I just accidentally discovered it. And it's super good. It's got like Obi-Wan trying to survive Order 66. He has a run-in with like teenage Boba Fett, and he doesn't know who he is and how he's so flippin' powerful, but he's like a kid and he's got his armor on, he's kicking butt. Holds a really special place in my heart. It's really, really good, even though it's a kid's book. It's really great. By Jude Watson, The Desperate Mission.
That one almost made my list, Corey.
Yeah, really?
I almost talked about it on the show.
Yeah.
That series is great, especially if you go back and read them now. There's tons of tie-ins to Rebels. I almost wonder if Filoni had read those
I'm sure.
and referenced them. So, like, almost every book, there's something I'm like, this is Rebels. This is Rebels. It's got this little resistance.
Yeah, it does
movement.
really have that vibe going for it a lot in it. It's very interesting. The next thing I'll mention is the Legacy series. You guys have heard me talk about this a lot. The first one is Betrayal. You just put up the Aaron Alston collection, didn't you?
There we go. Shameless plug.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you did. Aaron Alston, she's our first, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jared, she might be our first sort of old school, lesser known author that's got a collection up besides like the big five or whatever.
Except for the fact that Aaron Alston's a man. Rest in peace.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
But Christy Golden
That's what I'm
was
thinking
also
of.
published the same day, and she's
There
definitely
it
a
is.
woman.
That's right.
And
that's
alive.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Aaron Alston unfortunately passed away. I think do you remember what the story is behind that?
No, I just knew he had some health issues.
Yeah, I think he had like a stroke or something like that. He was fairly young. I think he was in like his 50s or 60s, and he passed away. And it hit Legends community really, really hard back when it happened. I was just a kid. I didn't really know him like the way that the Legends community knew him. But the Legacy series is super, super good. It's what introduced me into Star Wars. It's what made me realize Star Wars was huge. The galaxy was huge, is because it's so complex politically. The Force is very complicated. The Jedi are very complicated. The sort of like state of the galaxy is very complicated. You have like the Imperial Remnant, who's trying to be a legitimate like political organization. You have like the New Republic, which is trying to rebuild, and it's fascinating and touches on that original trilogy stuff that's super, super good, but it's also like so overwhelming because there's so much stuff happening. And like that's how I got into Star Wars. I just dived in head first to like some of the most complex stuff, like period, and it was really good. And then lastly, sort of a weird plug, a short one, is the Bounty Hunter Wars trilogy.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, it holds a special place in my heart too. It's a really, really weird trilogy about Boba Fett and some kind of drama that happens amongst the Bounty Hunter Guild, which is apparently like what regulates bounty hunters in Star Wars, at least in Legends. And it's super weird, but also good.
I think every Star Wars fan should go back and reread those right now, because The Mandalorian looks like it's tapping into some of that lore.
We got
of
11
having-
days.
having
No,
like a
8
11 days to read the whole trilogy.
8 days. Oh my god.
Yeah.
There's
coming.
this like bounty hunter guild chief who's like in charge of regulating it all, and they double cross each other. Looks like Mandalorian's tapping into some of that. So great choice.
Yeah, I mean,
Corey.
just from those trailers, it seems like there might be a guild of some sort, someone who
Oh, I think
controls
so,
who gets
yeah.
what. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to kind of relate those books and the show. Just like Kenobi, right? It's going to be interesting.
100%. Awesome. Well, Juliana, thank you for that question. That was awesome. We're running a little long here, but I'm feeling pretty good about it because I think this was a really fun episode. And as we wind down here, I want to take one last look at our chat, say thank you to everyone that's been following along. We got some books that we're throwing out here. Adam Dyson wants to throw out Revan, Path of the Destruction, and Dawn of the Jedi. I agree with you on Revan. I know a lot of people don't. I had a
Just
blast with
reread
Revan.
Revan like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I
That's
really
all I'll say
enjoyed that
about
book quite a lot. But whatever your choice is, everybody, whatever your Legends picks are, whatever your canon picks are, love them, defend them with everything you have. Oh, we do have a remote entry from Dr. Charles Hankel, who wants to throw in the Han Solo trilogy, the Bane trilogy, and the X-Wing series. Again, he wasn't here, so he's breaking rules by doing all series, just as a lot of us did. But right on brand, those are him. If you want to hear him talk more about Kenobi, which he left off his list, which means he must hate it, then you got to hear him on Let's Just Look Back coming up soon this month.
Yes, you do.
All right. But on that note, guys, I think we did it. I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in for this week's episode of The Living Force. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts and tune in every week to hear us at UTini talk about the Star Wars Expanded Universe, both live on video and in audio. Please leave us a review on iTunes to help people find us, and head over to utini.com for reviews, articles, and comprehensive book profiles and every single story in the Star Wars galaxy. Speaking of which, keep your eyes peeled for Resistance Reborn coming out tomorrow, November 5th. Get your pre-orders in. And Force Collector releasing for us in the US on November 19th, as well as a host of comics and reference books you can find over at utini.com, our release schedule. If you're looking to buy some of those books and want to help support the show, look up that book on Utini, click the Amazon link on the profile, and we'll get a few cents to help keep the lights on. If you'd like to help us out more directly, you can find us on patreon.com/Utini or on TeePublic, where our first wave of t-shirt designs are now live. Send us pictures of those on Twitter if you have them. For just $2 a month, you can join our Jedi Initiate level, where you can gain early access to episodes of this show. And for $5 a month, you'll become a Guardian of the Wills, where you'll receive extra shows every single month, including Legends Look Back and Bounty Hunt. If you are an Inquisitor 2 or up, head on over to Patreon right now to join us at Aftermath. Our after show hangout will be there in just a second. A special thank you goes out to Patrick Ortiz on our Jedi High Council for his amazing support. If you want your thoughts on the show, email us at livingforcepod@utini.com, tweet at us at livingforcepod, or join our Utini Discord community by going to utini.com/discord. You can find us individually on Twitter. We are all, I am at Eric Eilerson. Woo! Corey is at Doc Star Wars MD. Jared is at Jared Hayes. Freddie is at Wake Up Freddy. And Charles, when he decides to show up, is at C. Hankel. A special thank you to Matt Davenport, our amazing editor, Freddie, our host and producer, and Wes, our community manager, who killed it in this chat the entire show. Thank you to Corey, Jared, Freddie, and Wes for podcasting with me. We'll see you in Aftermath. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Take it easy.